Nobody remembers who screamed first. Doctor Amara Obi was sitting in conference room 12, listening to two Maraxi traders argue about shipping fees when the lights died. Not flickered, died. The emergency glow strips activated 3 seconds later, painting everything in sick yellow. Technical fault, one of the traders said, his forearms gesturing nervously. Amara knew better. She had lived on Galactic Station Harmony, 7 for 6 years. The power systems had triple backups. They did not simply fail. Her communication device buzzed. Security Chief Walters, voice tight with something she had never heard from him before. Fear. Dr. Obi, we need you at Docking Bay 9. Now. She ran. The station held 4,000 beings from 47 species. It was a place of diplomacy, trade, and careful peace. Amara had spent her career studying alien biology, learning their ways, building bridges between worlds. She thought she understood how the galaxy worked. She was wrong. Docking Bay 9 was chaos when she arrived. Security officers formed a half-circle around a small cargo vessel that had drifted in without permission. The ship's name was painted on the side in faded letters. The Gentle Morning. It's not responding to any signals, Walters said. He was a big man, ex-military, not easily shaken. His hands were trembling. The crew manifest shows 12 people. We're getting life signs, but they're wrong. Wrong how? Identical. All 12 readings are exactly the same. Same heart rate. Same temperature. Same brain activity. Amara felt cold spread through her chest. Open it. The airlock hissed. The smell hit them first. Rot and metal and something else. Something that made every human in the room take a step back on pure instinct. They came out slowly. 12 figures that had once been people. Their skin was gray now, stretched tight over bones that seemed to have shifted beneath. Their eyes were open but empty. They moved together, perfectly synchronized like puppets on the same strings. Hold your positions, Walters commanded. The gray figures did not hold. They charged. Security opened fire. Plasma bolts tore through bodies that did not fall. One officer went down, then another. A gray hand grabbed a Delvari diplomat, and the crystal-skinned alien shattered like glass under the grip. Amara ran again. Not away. Toward the emergency console. All personnel, Deck 9 is compromised. Seal on le pulquets. This is not a drill. Behind her, she heard more screaming. More weapons fire. More silence. 2 hours later, 3 decks were lost. Amara stood in the command center with what remained of the station's leadership. Counselor Tova, a small Maraxi woman who led the Galactic Unity Assembly delegation, stared at the tactical display with all 4 eyes wide. It spreads through contact, Amara reported, her voice steady even though her hand shook. Once infected, conversion takes approximately 4 minutes. The converted show no individual thought. They act as one. The hollow, whispered Ambassador Urine. The ancient Selthery existed as a cloud of luminescent gas contained in a specialized suit. His voice was old, tired, terrified. I thought it was legend. A weapon from the First War, 10,000 years ago. It consumes. It replicates. It does not stop. How do we fight it? Tova asked. N01 answered. The door burst open. Captain Leo Brandt stumbled in. His uniform burned, his face covered in sweat and ash. Behind him came 6 human security officers, all of them wounded, all of them still standing. Decks 7 through 9 are sealed, he said. I welded the bulkheads shut myself. You what? Tova's voice rose. Those decks had survivors. Those decks had infected. The survivors were already turning. Brandt's eyes were hard. I made a choice. You can judge me later if we live. Amara looked at him, at the burns on his arms where he had touched superheated metal, at the way he stood despite obvious pain. She had known humans her whole life. She was human, but sometimes she forgot what that meant. A communication signal cut through the tension. Counselor Tova answered it with shaking hands. The face on the screen belonged to a Delvari admiral, speaking from Galactic Command, 3 star systems away. Counselor Tova, we have received your distress signal. I regret to inform you that assistance cannot be provided. The Hollow has emerged at 17 locations across the sector simultaneously. All military assets are being recalled to protect homeworlds. You are advised to evacuate if possible. And if evacuation is not possible, the Admiral paused. Then you are advised to make peace with your chosen beliefs. The signal ended. Silence filled the room. The Selthari ambassador began to dissipate, his gaseous form losing cohesion from sheer despair. The Meraxi counselor sat down heavily, her forearms wrapped around herself. The humans looked at each other. Well, Captain Brant said quietly, I guess we do this ourselves. Nobody asked what this meant. The humans already knew. They were not going to run. They were not going to hide. They were not going to make peace with anything. They were going to fight. And somewhere deep in their chests, in that place where fear lived, something else began to wake. Something old. Something hot. Rage. Amara felt it too. She was a scientist, a diplomat, a woman who had spent her life building understanding between species. She had never considered herself a fighter. But as she looked at the tactical display showing the gray infection spreading through her home, she felt her hands stop shaking. They curled into fists instead. Riss had studied humans for 40 years. She thought she knew them. The Delvari diplomat stood in the corner of the refugee center, her crystalline skin catching the emergency lights, watching something she could not explain. 300 survivors had gathered in Recreation Hall 4. Meraxi huddled in corners, their small bodies shaking. Selthari drifted near the ceiling vents, ready to flee through the air systems. Her own people, the Delvari, sat in perfect stillness, calculating survival odds in their heads. The humans were building, and O1 had told them to. No leader had issued commands. But within an hour of arriving, the humans had organized themselves into groups. Some reinforced the doors with furniture. Others created a medical station from supplies they had found. A woman who had been a cook 3 hours ago was now teaching others how to treat plasma burns. Riss approached a young human woman who was welding a metal plate over a ventilation shaft. Why are you doing this? The woman looked up. Her name tag read Dara Finch, engineering specialist. Her eyes were red from crying, but her hands were steady on the welding torch. Doing what? Working. Preparing. Your government has abandoned you. Help is not coming. Logically, this is the time for grief, for acceptance. Dara stared at her for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was not a happy sound. Lady, humans don't do acceptance. We do spite. She went back to welding. Counselor Tova called an emergency meeting in a small office adjacent to the hall. The remaining leaders gathered around a table covered in dust. Captain Brant stood near the door, his burned arms wrapped in bandages, refusing to sit. Ambassador Yorn spoke first. My people request permission to evacuate through the ventilation systems. In our gaseous form, we can pass through the infected zones without contact. And go where? Brant asked. The escape pods are on deck 3. That's fully compromised. We would find another way. The Selthari are resourceful. You would leave 4,000 people behind. Yoren's form flickered with agitation. We would survive. Is that not the point? Riss watched the humans in the room. Their faces had changed. Something cold had settled into their eyes. That a Delvari physician named Krell spoke next. I propose we seal the uninfected sections and focus resources on those areas only. The outlying zones contain approximately 400 beings. Sacrificing them would improve our survival odds by 18%. Sacrificing them, Brant repeated. His voice was flat. A logical choice given limited resources. Dr. Amara Obi had been silent until now. She stood in the corner, reading data on a tablet, her face illuminated by its glow. When she looked up, her expression stopped the room. I found something. Everyone turned. The hollow avoids extreme heat. The converted beings on Deck 8 bypass the engineering section entirely because of the thermal output from the reactors. She set the tablet down. Human body temperature averages 37 degrees Celsius. Most species here run cooler. Meraxi average 31. Delvari average 28. Selthari have no fixed temperature at all. What does this mean? Tova asked. It means humans convert slower. The heat buys us time. Maybe 5, 6 minutes instead of 4. In lightly infected areas, humans might be able to pass through without being immediately targeted. Silence. Brant straightened. The secondary power core is on deck 12. If we restore full power, we can activate the station's defense grid, seal more sections, maybe even send a stronger distress signal. Deck 12 is through 2 infected zones, Riss said. The corridor alone is 300 meters of direct exposure. I know, you would die. Maybe. Brant looked around the room. But maybe not. And if there's a chance, even a small one, we take it. Why? You're demanded. Why risk yourself for beings who would not do the same? The human captain smiled. It was a tired, sad, angry smile. Because someone has to. He walked to the door and addressed the refugees outside. His voice carried across the hall. I need volunteers. We're going to deck 12 to restore power. The route goes through infected territory. I won't lie to you. Some of us won't come back. But if we succeed, we give everyone here a chance to live. Riss expected hesitation. Calculation. The responses she would see from any rational species. Instead, humans began standing up. One by one. Cooks and engineers and teachers and traders. People who had never held a weapon in their lives. People who had every reason to hide. Point 12 humans stood ready within a minute, and other species moved. Riss felt something strange in her crystalline chest. An unfamiliar vibration. It took her a moment to identify it. Shame. She stepped forward. I will go with you. Brant raised an eyebrow. You run cooler than us. You'll convert faster. Then I will stay close to your people. Their heat may protect me. She met his eyes. I've spent my life studying humans. I wish to understand why you do this. Dara Finch pushed through the crowd, welding torch still in her hand. Count me in. Finch, you're an engineer, not a fighter. Good thing we're going to an engineering deck, then. Amara stepped forward last. I'm coming too. You'll need someone who understands the biology of what we're facing. Brant looked at his team. 14 people, 12 humans, and 2 aliens who had chosen to stand with them. All right, he said. We move in 10 minutes. Light gear only. Stay close. Stay quiet. He paused. And whatever happens out there, do not stop moving. If someone falls, you keep going. Promise me. They promised, but Riss saw their eyes. She saw the way they looked at each other. She knew, with certainty, that if someone fell, these humans would burn the station down trying to save them. That was the thing about humans. She was learning. They made logical promises they had no intention of keeping. The walls were breathing. Riss had prepared herself for horror. She had read the reports, seen the footage, studied the data. Nothing prepared her for Deck 14. Gray matter covered every surface. It pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of something vast and hungry. The metal beneath had been consumed, transformed into organic tissue that spread in patterns that hurt to look at. The air tasted wrong, thick with spores that made her crystalline lungs burn. The humans walked through it like it was nothing. Captain Brant led the group, a plasma cutter in his hands, moving with careful silence. Behind him came the others, 12 humans and Riss, picking their way through corridors that had become something out of a nightmare. They passed the first converted being after 50 meters. IT had been a Meraxi once. Now it stood motionless in the center of the corridor, its 4 arms fused together, its eyes replaced with smooth gray orbs. It turned toward them as they approached. Everyone froze. The thing tilted its head, sniffed the air. Then it turned away and continued its slow patrol down a side passage. Keep moving, Brant whispered. They moved. Riss stayed close to Dara Finch, feeling the human's body heat radiating outward. It was uncomfortable for her, almost painful against her crystalline skin, but she endured it. The alternative was worse. They passed more converted. Dozens of them. Former people from every species represented on the station, all transformed into the same gray emptiness. They moved without purpose, without thought, waiting for something that Riss could not identify. That a young human named Paolo walked near the back of the group. He was barely 20 years old, a maintenance worker who had volunteered because he said he could not live with himself if he hid. His hand shook around his weapon, but he kept pace. The attack came without warning that a section of wall that had seemed solid suddenly opened. Gray tendrils shot out, wrapping around Paolo before anyone could react. He was pulled backward, his feet leaving the ground. "Help!" Brant spun, plasma cutter raised. "No." Paolo's voice was steady now, steadier than it had been the whole journey. "Keep moving. You stop, you all die. We're not leaving you." "Yes, you are." Paolo's smiled. It was a terrible smile, full of fear and acceptance and something else. Defiance. "Make it count, Captain." The wall swallowed him. Riss heard him scream for exactly 4 seconds. Then silence. She expected the humans to fall apart, to weep, to rage, to lose themselves in grief. Instead, something changed in them. Their faces went still. Their eyes went hard. They kept walking, but differently now. Shoulders back, jaws tight. She felt the temperature around her rise by a full degree. Dara Finch was shaking beside her. Not from fear. Riss had seen enough humans to recognize this. The woman was fighting to contain something massive, something that wanted to break free. "Are you injured?" Riss asked quietly. "No." Dara's voice was barely controlled. "I'm angry. Anger will not help us survive. Lady, you don't know humans at all." They reached the junction to Deck 12. The power core was visible through the viewport ahead, a massive structure that still glowed faintly with contained energy. Between them and it stood a chamber filled with converted, at least 30 of them, standing in perfect formation like soldiers awaiting orders. "We can't fight through that many," Dr. Obi said. "We don't have to fight them," Brant replied. "We have to get past them." "How?" He pointed to a maintenance hatch on the ceiling. "That leads to the service corridor. Comes out right at the core entrance. One person could make it. The hatch is welded shut." "I know." Brant handed his plasma cutter to Finch. "You'll need to cut through from the inside. I'll provide the distraction." "Captain, I'll restore power. You get everyone else back to the safe zone." He gripped her shoulder. "When those systems come online, you hit back. You understand? You make them remember what humans can do when we're pushed too far." Finch's eyes were wet. Her hands were not shaking anymore. "Yes, sir." Brant turned to Riss. "Tell your people what you saw here. Tell the whole galaxy. Humans don't give up. We don't lie down. We don't accept defeat." He smiled, and it was the angriest smile she had ever seen. "We burn." He walked into the chamber. The converted turned toward him as one. 30 gray faces locked onto a single human who should have been terrified, should have been running, should have been begging. He was laughing. "Come on, then." His voice echoed off the corrupted walls. "Come see what happens when you make us mad." They swarmed him. Riss climbed through the hatch, following Finch and the others. Below, she heard the sounds of combat. Plasma fire. Impact. A human voice shouting curses she did not understand. The sounds did not stop. They crawled through darkness, following Finch's torch. The service corridor was narrow, claustrophobic, untouched by the infection. After what felt like hours, they emerged at the core entrance. The chamber beyond was half consumed by gray matter. And in the center of it all, somehow still standing, was Captain Brant. That he was covered in gray patches. The infection was taking him, but he was still moving, still fighting, still refusing to fall. "Go," he rasped when he saw them. "I'll handle this." He stumbled toward the manual control console. Riss watched a human being walk in a certain death with nothing but rage keeping him upright. She finally understood. The lights came back on across Station Harmony, 7 at exactly 0342 hours. Every screen, every speaker, every communication device activated simultaneously. In the safe zones where survivors huddled, in the infected corridors where the converted wandered, in the command center where Counselor Tova had been preparing final messages to her family, a single transmission played. Captain Leo Brandt's face appeared on every display. He was inside the power core chamber. Gray patches covered half his body. His eyes burned with fever and fury. "This is Captain Brandt to all surviving personnel. Power has been restored. Defense systems are online. Communication arrays are active." He coughed, and gray fluid came out. He ignored it. "The infection got me. I have maybe 10 minutes before I turn, so I'm sealing myself in here, using my body heat to keep the core running as long as possible." He leaned closer to the camera. "But before I go, I want you all to hear something. I want the infected to hear it too. If there's anything left in there that can still listen." His voice dropped, became something raw and terrible. "You picked the wrong station. You picked the wrong species. Humans don't break. We don't quit. And when you hurt us, when you take people we care about, we don't forgive." He smiled, blood on his teeth. "We come for you." The transmission ended. Doctor Amara Obi stood in the communication center, hands flying across controls. Bran had given them power. Now she would give them hope. Open a channel. All frequencies. Every station, every ship, every outpost in this sector. The technician beside her, a young human named Sarah, worked faster than she had ever worked before. Channel open. Amara took a breath. "This is Dr. Amara Obi, broadcasting from Galactic Station Harmony 7. We have been attacked by the entity known as the Hollow. Our governments have abandoned us. Military support has been withdrawn to protect homeworlds." She paused. "But we have discovered something important. The Hollow is vulnerable to heat. Human body temperature provides partial resistance. Human aggression, human determination, human refusal to surrender may be the key to fighting this thing." Her voice hardened. "I'm calling all humans. Every station, every ship, every colony. We need you. Not soldiers, just humans. People willing to stand when everyone else runs. People angry enough to fight when fighting seems pointless." She gripped the console. "They think they can break us. They think we'll scatter like every other species. Show them how wrong they are." The responses came within minutes. A freighter captain 2 systems away. "This is the cargo vessel Dawn Runner. We're changing course. ETA 6 hours. A mining station near the asteroid belt. Harmony 7. This is mining platform Gamma 6. We have 47 humans here. We're coming. A passenger liner en route to a resort world. Harmony 7. The crew has voted. All human personnel volunteering for rescue mission. Passengers will be dropped at the nearest safe port." More signals. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Counselor Tova watched the communication logs fill with human voices. Civilians. Merchants. Teachers. Families. None of them were military. None of them had any reason to risk their lives. All of them were coming. "Why?" she whispered to Riss, who had returned with the surviving team. "Why did they do this?" Their own leaders told them to protect their homes. Riss was silent for a long moment. Her crystalline skin still carried heat marks from walking beside humans through infected corridors. She had watched a man seal himself in a death chamber to save people he barely knew. "Because," she said slowly, "humans do not calculate the value of lives. They do not measure the odds of success before acting. When someone needs help, they help. When something threatens their people, all their people, anywhere they fight." She turned to face Tova. "We have studied them for centuries and understood nothing. They are not more intelligent than us, not stronger, not more advanced. They are simply unwilling to accept defeat. And when you hurt them, that refusal becomes something else entirely." "What?" Rage. Riss watched the humans in the room preparing weapons, organizing supplies, checking and rechecking equipment. None of them were crying anymore. None of them were afraid. "Pure, focused, unstoppable rage." In the refugee center, something extraordinary was happening. Humans were arming themselves with whatever they could find. Plasma cutters, engineering tools, kitchen knives, pieces of broken furniture sharpened into clubs. A woman who had been a botanist 4 hours ago was now teaching others how to aim at converted weak points, and scattered among them, other species were joining. That a Delvari physician picked up a medical laser and adjusted its settings to burn. A Meraxi trader, hands shaking but determined, accepted a makeshift shield from a human child. 2 Selthri, their gaseous forms contained in emergency suits, volunteered to serve as scouts in the ventilation systems. Dara Finch stood at the center of it all, directing traffic, assigning positions, turning a refugee camp into a fortress. A Delvari approached her. "Why do you accept us? We calculated your deaths as acceptable losses." Dara looked at him. For a moment, her face was hard. Then it softened. "Because that's what humans do," she said. "We get angry at the threat, not at each other. Save your guilt for later. Right now, you're with us. Warning alarms began to sound. The hollow was massing for a final push. Sensors showed thousands of converted beings gathering, coordinating, preparing to overwhelm the last safe zones. Dara climbed onto a table and raised her plasma cutter high. They're coming. Thousands of them. And they think we're going to run. She looked out at the crowd. Humans and aliens, armed with tools and fury, ready to fight for their lives. Show them what happens when you corner something that refuses to die. The roar that answered her shook the walls. They came in waves. Gray bodies poured through every corridor, every ventilation shaft, every maintenance tunnel. The hollow had gathered its converted from across the station. Thousands of former people now united in a single purpose: consumption. The first wave hit the barricades at Recreation Hall 4. Makeshift walls of furniture and metal plating. Behind them stood 400 defenders, humans and aliens together, armed with whatever they could find. Dara Finch fired the first shot. Her plasma cutter burned through a converted Meraxi that had once been a diplomat. The body fell. 2 more climbed over it. She burned them too. "Hold the line," she screamed over the chaos. "Nobody breaks. Nobody runs." The humans did not run. They roared. Riss had never heard anything like it. Human voices raised in fury, drowning out even the shrieking of the converted. They fought with a violence that transcended survival instinct. This was not defense. This was punishment that the human cook named Wei swung a reinforced cooking pot like a war hammer, smashing gray skulls with mechanical efficiency. Beside him, a teacher named Lila used a fire extinguisher as a bludgeon, her screams matching every impact. A teenager no older than 15 fought with 2 kitchen knives, tears streaming down her face, never stopping. The converted kept coming to Dr. Amara Obi worked behind the lines, treating the wounded, analyzing the enemy. Her mind raced through possibilities while her hands stitched torn flesh. The hollow was coordinated. Every attack, every movement, every assault came with purpose. There had to be a central point, a node, something directing it all. She grabbed a portable scanner and began tracking energy signatures to the barricade. Dara was running out of power cells. She threw her empty plasma cutter at an approaching converted and picked up a metal pipe instead. Her arms burned. Her lungs burned. Everything burned, but so did she. "Is that all you've got?" she shouted at the gray tide. "We're still here. We're still standing." A converted that had once been human grabbed her shoulder. She headbutted it, felt bone crack, kept fighting. 3 Delvari defenders went down. From Araxi fell. The barricade began to buckle. Then the reinforcements arrived. They came from everywhere. Humans from other safe zones, breaking through maintenance corridors, climbing through ventilation shafts, smashing through sealed doors. 50 became 100. 100 became 200. Among them came the ships that had answered Obi's call. Freighter crews armed with cargo hooks. Miners carrying excavation equipment. A family of 5, parents and 3 children, all wielding improvised weapons, all burning with the same impossible fury. The tide turned. Riss found herself fighting alongside a human woman named Grace, a grandmother who had been visiting the station to see her grandchildren. Grace fought with a garden trowel, of all things, stabbing and slashing with a ferocity that belied her age. "You should not be here," Riss said between strikes. "This is not your fight. Someone hurt my people." Grace drove her trowel through a converted eye socket. "That makes it my fight." At the rear of the hall, Amara found what she was looking for. "There." She pointed at the tactical display. "Deck 6, Section 23. That's where the energy is concentrated. The node is there." Counselor Tova, who had picked up a weapon and joined the defense, looked at the display. "That's deep in infected territory. Deeper than anywhere we've gone." "I know." Amara's eyes were hard. "But if we destroy it, the local infection loses coordination. The converted will stop working together. We can win. You'll die. Maybe." Amara smiled. It was the same smile Bran had worn. "But we were dead anyway when this started. At least this way, we go down fighting." She raised her voice. "I need volunteers. One last push to the node. The hardest fight we've faced. Some of us won't come back. But if we succeed, everyone else lives. 50 humans stepped forward immediately. Then, slowly, others joined them. A dozen Delvari. 8 Maraxi, their small bodies trembling, but their eyes steady. Even 2 Selthari, their gaseous forms condensed into combat suits. Why? Riss asked them. Your species does not do this. A Delvari male named Krell, the same physician who had once suggested sacrificing survivors, answered. We watch humans die for us. We calculated that as acceptable. We were wrong. He gripped his weapon tighter. Today we learn what they already know. What is that? Some things are worth dying for. The assault force moved out. They fought through corridors painted gray with corruption. They lost people with every room they cleared. A human fell, then another. A Maraxi was taken, screaming defiance until the end. A Selthari sacrificed itself to clear a path, its gaseous form igniting in a burst of light that incinerated a dozen converted. They kept pushing. Amara led from the front, her medical knowledge turning deadly. She knew where to strike, how to disable, where the gray bodies were weakest. Behind her, the survivors fought with everything they had left. They reached the node chambered. IT was massive, a pulsing mass of gray matter that filled an entire cargo bay. Tendrils connected it to the station's systems, spreading the corruption, coordinating the attack. At its center, something that might have been a face turned toward them. Now, Amara shouted. Every weapon fired at once. Plasma and flame and raw kinetic force slammed into the node. It screamed, a sound that existed only in their minds, a sound of pure hunger and rage. They did not stop. They poured everything they had into the assault. Humans threw themselves at tendrils that tried to defend the core. Aliens fought beside them, matching their fury strike for strike. The node shattered. Across the station, the converted stopped moving. They stood frozen, disconnected, lost. The coordinated assault collapsed into chaos in the cargo bay. The survivors stood among the ruins of their enemy, wounded, exhausted, barely alive, but alive. Amara fell to her knees. Around her, humans and aliens embraced, wept, laughed. Riss helped a wounded Delvari to his feet and felt something she had never experienced before. Pride in people who were not her own. 1 month passed. The Galactic Unity Assembly gathered in the Grand Chamber on Central Station, the largest meeting space in known civilization. Representatives from every species filled the curved rows of seats, thousands of beings watching the central platform where the council presided. Counselor Tova stood at the podium, her small Maraxi form dwarfed by the massive display screens behind her. We are here to discuss the Hollow Crisis, she began, and what it taught us about ourselves. The numbers appeared on screen. 340,000 beings lost across the sector. 47 stations attacked. 17 held. Every station that survived had one thing in common. Tova let the silence stretch. A significant human population. Murmurs spread through the chamber. She continued. We analyzed the data. We studied the reports. We interviewed survivors. And we found something that our scientists cannot explain, that our philosophers struggle to understand. The screen changed. Footage from Harmony, 7 played. Humans fighting with cooking implements. Humans throwing themselves at gray masses to buy time for others. Humans screaming defiance at an enemy that should have overwhelmed them. Humans did not win because they were stronger. They are not. They did not win because they were smarter. Many species exceed human cognitive capacity. They did not win because of superior technology. They fought with kitchen knives and furniture. Tova's voice dropped. They won because they refused to lose. When every logical calculation said surrender was the optimal choice, humans chose rage instead. And that rage became contagious. Riss was called to testify. The Delvari diplomat walked to the witness platform, her crystalline skin still bearing faint heat scars from her time on Harmony 7. She had spent 3 weeks preparing this testimony. In the end, she threw away her prepared remarks. I have studied humans for 40 years, she said. I wrote papers about their irrational attachment to group cohesion. I lectured on their tendency to prioritize emotional response over logical calculation. I believed these were weaknesses. She paused. I was wrong. I watched a human captain seal himself in a radiation chamber to keep a power core running. I watched a grandmother fight converted soldiers with a garden tool. I watched children pick up weapons and stand beside adults because their parents were standing. Her voice cracked, something that had never happened in her centuries of diplomatic service. They do not calculate the value of life. They do not measure the probability of success before acting. When someone needs help, they help. When something threatens their people, they fight. And when you hurt them, when you push them past the point where any rational species would surrender, they become something else entirely. What? A Selthery counselor asked from the gallery. Riss looked directly at the assembled representatives. Fury given physical form. Rage made into a weapon. They become the thing that darkness fears. Dr. Amara Obi spoke next. Her face carried new scars. Her eyes carried new weight. But her voice was steady. The Hollow retreated at all 17 locations where humans stood and fought, she said. We do not know if it was destroyed or merely driven back. We do not know if it will return. But we learned something important about how to face it. She looked out at the assembly. Not with superior weapons. Not with better strategies. With determination. With the absolute refusal to accept defeat. With a willingness to burn alongside your enemy if that is what it takes. She straightened. Humans are not special. Any species can choose to stand. Any species can choose to fight beyond the point of logic. We simply do it more often because we never learn not to. The final speaker appeared via hologram. Captain Leo Brandt, still recovering in a medical facility, his body slowly healing from an infection that should have killed him. I don't have a speech prepared, he said. His voice was rough, damaged. I'm not good at speeches anyway, but I want to say one thing to everyone watching this. He leaned forward. We did not fight because we wanted to. We fought because no one else would. Next time, fight with us. Not behind us. With us. Because the darkness is still out there, and it will come again. And when it does, I want to see every species standing together, just as angry as we are, just as unwilling to die quietly. He smiled. It was tired and scarred and beautiful. The galaxy is our home. All of ours. Let's act like it. The assembly voted unanimously. Human advisors will be stationed at every major installation, not as commanders, but as examples. Training programs would be established, not in tactics or weapons, but in something harder to teach: hope, defiance, the refusal to surrender. After the session, Riss found Dara Finch on an observation deck, watching the stars. Your people changed everything, Riss said. The galaxy will never see humans the same way again. Dara shrugged. We're the same as we always were. Just now everyone knows it. Are you always angry? Dara laughed. It was a warm sound, nothing like the fury Riss had seen on Harmony 7. No, most of the time we're silly. We make art and tell jokes and argue about which food is best. We fall in love with people and pets and ideas. We're soft, really. Gentle, even. She turned to face Riss. But when something threatens what we love, when chaos comes for the innocent, when darkness thinks it can swallow the light, we remember what we really are. What is that? Dara looked out at the infinite black between stars. Somewhere out there, the Hollow waited. Somewhere out there, other threats lurked. The galaxy was dangerous and vast and full of things that wanted to consume. She smiled. The species that looked at the darkness and decided to be furious.